Elias Ward stood at the center of the Terran research vessel Helios 3, staring at the strange signal flashing across the main display. The soft blue glow of the holographic screen lit up his face, making him look more exhausted than he felt. For the last 6 months, he had been traveling with the crew on a routine survey mission along the unclaimed borders of explored space. These were supposed to be calm sectors, quiet regions where nothing ever happened. No battles, no strange discoveries, no unknown species lurking in the dark. That was the reason he accepted the assignment. He thought he would finally get some peace after years of working emergency repairs on the frontier. But peace had never liked him very much. It always slipped away the moment he got close. The signal pulsing on the screen was not natural. It came in structured intervals, carrying a faint repeating pattern that hinted at intelligent origin. But the strange thing was the energy spike behind it. The size of the collapse implied something massive had been destroyed. Something powerful enough to leave a shockwave that sensors could still detect from millions of kilometers away. Captain Rhea Lorne stood behind Elias with her arms crossed tightly. She was not a nervous woman, but even she seemed unsettled. Is that what I think it is? Elias ran another scan, watching the data scroll down in long columns. It looks like a ship, or maybe a station. Something enormous. And whatever it was, it broke apart all at once. He paused, almost like it imploded. The captain exhaled slowly. Cause? No idea, he answered. Energy overload. Internal sabotage. External attack. Take your pick. It's bad either way. Nearby, 2 crew members exchanged uneasy looks. The border of Varai territory was close. Too close, maybe. Many rumors circled about the Varai people. A mysterious alien species known for power, strict isolation, and technology so advanced that Terran engineers whispered about it like myth. Some believed the Varai conquered minds with psychic force. Others said they were peaceful, but guarded their space with absolute seriousness. Humans rarely met them, and when they did, the encounters were always short, polite, and distant. But one fact was certain. The Varai did not ask for help. Ever. The captain moved closer to Elias. How stable is the debris field? Not very, he admitted. But there's something else there. Another signal. He tapped the controls, and the faint second trace expanded. It pulsed irregularly, like a dying heartbeat. This one looks like an emergency beacon, the captain frowned. From the Varai? Possibly. The signature is close to what our diplomats logged. Elias's voice softened. Someone might be alive out there. The room went quiet. The idea of saving a Varai was risky. Interfering in their affairs could cause political trouble, maybe even conflict. But leaving a living being to die went against every Terran rescue law. The captain did not hesitate long. Prepare the rescue shuttle. Elias, you're going down. Me? He blinked. Captain, I'm an engineer. You're also the best problem solver on this ship. If anything in that pod is unfamiliar, you're the one I trust to handle it. Suit up. Elias felt a knot form in his chest. He had asked for a quiet assignment, and instead, he was about to dive into the wreckage of a destroyed alien craft belonging to one of the galaxy's most feared civilizations. Some people had bad luck. Elias had terrible luck. The rescue shuttle launched minutes later, slicing through space like a silver needle. The debris field grew sharper on the viewport. Giant dark shards drifting slowly, glowing faintly with residual energy. Long, twisted metallic limbs floated past, as if from a living machine that had been torn apart. Elias piloted the shuttle through the drifting pieces with steady hands. His helmet visor blinked warnings every few seconds, but he ignored them. The emergency beacon was growing stronger. There, he whispered. Nestled between 2 broken shell fragments was a small escape pod, shaped like a smooth black sphere. It was scratched, battered, and partially cracked open. Strange glowing symbols pulsed across its surface like veins. That has to be Varai tech, he muttered. Terran ships used sharp angles. This one looked grown, not built. Elias activated the magnetic grapplers, and gently pulled the pod into the shuttle bay. As soon as it settled, he grabbed his toolkit and approached. His heart beat louder with every step. Varai. No human had ever opened one of their pods before. The pod's hatch was sealed with an organic locking mechanism that reacted to touch. When Elias reached toward it, the surface rippled like soft metal, then split open with a hiss. Cold fog rolled out. Inside lay someone he never expected to see. A tall being with dark silver skin, long braided tendrils flowing from the head like hair, and elegant lines etched across the face. The figure wore armor that looked ceremonial rather than functional, adorned with symbols Elias didn't recognize. The being was unconscious, breathing weakly. But what shocked him most was the presence of a crown-like structure around the being's forehead. Not jewelry, a living biocircuit. A queen, a Varai queen. Elias froze. His breath caught in his throat. The Varai queen was not just a ruler. She was the telepathic anchor of her entire empire. She controlled the psychic network that connected her people. Losing her could destabilize an entire civilization. How is she even here? He whispered to himself. What was she doing so far from Varai space? The pod beeped weakly, its internal systems failing. The queen's skin flickered with faint energy distortions. He scanned her vitals and winced. She was on the edge of neural collapse. Her brain activity was unstable, and some sort of harmonic imbalance was spreading through her nervous system. The pod tried to compensate, but its systems were too damaged. Elias hesitated for half a second. Interfering with a Varai noble could cause more trouble than he could imagine. But letting her die would be worse politically and ethically. Okay, he murmured, gripping his tools. Let's try to keep you that way. He patched power into the pod, stabilized its internal temperature, and scanned her neural field again. Something inside the Queen's crown device was fluctuating violently. Whatever destroyed her ship must have hit her connection to her people. She was caught between consciousness and unconsciousness, her mind trying to reconnect but failing repeatedly. He rewired the pod's failing power relays with Terran components. It was crude and not compatible, but it kept the core stable. Then he connected his portable neural stabilizer to the crown, adjusting frequencies until they aligned. The moment he did, the energy inside the pod surged. A pulse of light shot out, sweeping through the shuttle. Elias felt a sharp sting at the base of his skull. He gasped and staggered back, clutching his head. Then everything went still. The Queen took a weak breath, her first stable one. Her vitals calmed. The neural storm settled. The shuttle's lights flickered, then returned to normal. Elias shook off the sensation and checked the readings again. She was stabilizing. It was working. He let out a long breath, relieved. Good. That's good. You're going to make it. But as he backed away, a quiet whisper echoed in his mind, not spoken aloud, not through the shuttle speakers. Inside his mind, a voice that was calm, deep, and strangely graceful. You touched the lattice. Elias froze, his eyes widened. What, who said that? The Queen stirred weakly but remained unconscious. Yet the voice echoed again, soft and distant. Our fates are joined. Elias's blood ran cold. No, 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 he whispered. Don't do that. I don't want anything joined. But the connection pulsed again, a faint thread of energy binding them for a moment before fading. He didn't understand what it meant, but he feared he would soon. He contacted the Helios 3. Captain, I have a survivor, and I think she's important. Very important. The captain's voice came through tense. Bring her in immediately. Medical and security teams will be waiting. Elias secured the pod and piloted the shuttle back. The Queen remained unconscious, but her breathing was steady. Yet Elias could still sense something in the back of his mind. A faint presence. Not dangerous, but impossible to ignore. A connection he never asked for. A connection he did not understand. He looked at the Queen's silent form and sighed. Why does trouble always find me? The shuttle sped through the darkness, carrying with it a human engineer, a dying alien queen, and the beginning of a fate neither of them had chosen. but one that would change the future of two civilizations. Elias Ward waited outside the medical chamber, with his hands shoved deep into his pockets, trying to stop them from shaking. The ship's doctors had taken the Varai Queen as soon as he brought her aboard. They worked in silence, moving carefully around tools that were not designed for alien biology. Elias stayed nearby in case they needed him, but mostly because his mind wouldn't let him leave. Every few minutes he felt a faint echo like a distant hum inside his head. It was so soft that he sometimes wondered if he imagined it, but every time he tried to ignore it, it came back, as if reminding him that what happened in the shuttle wasn't a dream. Something had connected them. He didn't understand it, and he didn't want to. All he wanted was for the Queen to recover, and for the strange bond to go away. The medical doors opened, and Captain Rhea Lorne stepped out. Her face was tight. "Elias, inside, now!" He followed her into the room. The Queen lay on a diagnostic bed, covered in shimmering medical sheets to regulate her temperature. A soft glow pulsed around her head, where her crown-like biocircuit rested. Two Terran doctors monitored screens filled with alien symbols they didn't recognize. "She is stable," one doctor reported, "but her mind is in a fragile state. Something is fighting to re-establish a link to whatever her species uses for communication." The captain turned toward Elias. "Explain exactly what happened." He told her everything. The broken escape pod, the damaged circuits, the unstable neural patterns, and the stabilizer he used. He ended with the strange pulse that hit him. Captain Lorne listened without interruption. When he finished, she let out a slow breath. "So you're telling me you connected a Terran stabilizer to an alien psychic crown?" "It was the only way to stop her from crashing," Elias said quietly. "I didn't expect it to do that." "Do what exactly?" He hesitated. "Link us. Or bind us. I don't know." The captain's eyes narrowed. "Are you certain?" As if answering her question, a soft whisper brushed the inside of Elias's mind. "Your thoughts are loud." Elias winced. "I'm certain." The captain rubbed her forehead. "We have a serious problem. If the Varai find out a human connected to their queen at a neural level, they will not be calm." Elias muttered. "I wasn't calm either." Before the captain could reply, the Queen stirred. A faint wave of psychic pressure swept through the room. The air seemed to hum for a moment. Her eyes opened slowly. They were bright silver with shifting patterns, like stars caught in motion. She looked around in confusion, breathing shallow but steady. Then her gaze locked onto Elias. Everyone else in the room felt a slight push against their thoughts, soft but noticeable. But Elias felt something stronger, like a sudden wind sweeping through his mind. Not harmful, but powerful. The Queen raised a weak hand. "You," she whispered. The captain stepped forward. "This is Captain Rhea Lorne of the Terran vessel Helios 3. You are safe." The Queen didn't look at the captain. Her eyes remained fixed on Elias. "You brought me back. You anchored the lattice." Elias swallowed hard. "I only didn't want you to die." The Queen closed her eyes briefly, then opened them again. "I am Kashera, elected crown of the Varai, the mind chain of my people. Without me, the psychic network falls into disorder." Everyone exchanged uneasy glances. That explained the strange energy fluctuations. Kashara slowly pushed herself up. She winced, but steadied herself. "Your stabilizer connected with my crown. It was never meant to join with Terran technology. The bond formed as a result of mixed frequencies. You carry a thread of my lattice now." Elias stared. "Can we disconnect it?" The Queen studied him quietly. "In time. But not now. The bond is fragile. Attempting to break it prematurely could damage both our minds." The room fell silent. Captain Lorne cleared her throat. "Your Majesty, do you know what destroyed your vessel?" Kashara's expression darkened. A sharp pulse of emotion rippled through Elias's mind: fear, anger, betrayal. He stepped back in surprise. The Queen noticed and softened her emotions immediately. "My apologies. The bond makes my feelings leak into your thoughts. I will control them more carefully. Elias managed a shaky nod. She continued. My ship was attacked by one of my own. Lord Fantir, a high noble with ambition but no honor. He intends to claim the throne. To do so, he must sever the psychic network and place himself at its center. I fled before he could complete the ritual needed to overwrite the lattice. Captain Lorne frowned. You're saying there's a civil war in Varai space? There will be, Kashera answered. If he succeeds, our people will fall into discord. Our minds rely on balance. Without it, chaos spreads. Elias asked, why were you so far from your territory? I sought allies, she said simply. Neutral ones. Those he would not expect. But I was intercepted. Elias felt the echo of her fear again, softer this time. The Queen looked at him carefully. You saved my life, human. And without meaning to, you now hold a piece of my fate inside your mind. I didn't want that, Elias whispered. I know, she replied gently. Yet it is done. The captain stepped forward. What must we do to ensure both of you stay alive? Kashera breathed in slowly. My psychic network is collapsing without my guidance. That instability affects me through the bond. And since Elias is linked to me, he will feel the backlash as well. Elias blinked. Backlash? The Queen lifted a hand toward his head. Her fingers hovered just above his temple. Pain. Disorientation. Memory strain. Possibly worse if the network fractures. That's not comforting. It is truth. Her voice softened. The only way to stabilize both of us is to reach my Nexus Citadel on Varai Prime. The captain stiffened. You want us to take you into Varai space? Without permission? That could be seen as an invasion. Unquote. Unquote. The captain stiffened. The captain stiffened invasion. The captain stiffened invasion. Unquote. The captain stiffened invasion. Unquote. Unquote. Kashara shook her head. Not if I am the one who requests passage. I still hold authority barely. But Vantir controls many of our gateways. If he detects my presence, he will hunt me. So what do we do? Elias asked. You hide me, she replied simply. And we travel quietly. The captain sighed. This mission was supposed to be peaceful. Elias muttered. Does anything stay peaceful when I'm involved? The Queen tilted her head slightly, observing him with an unreadable expression. Your humor is unusual. Thank you. I think. The ship vibrated slightly as the engines steadied. The captain gestured for everyone to clear the room so the Queen could rest. Elias turned to leave, but Kashera spoke again. Elias Ward. He froze. Remain, she said. The others left, leaving the two of them alone with the soft hum of machinery. Elias stood awkwardly near the diagnostic table. Kashara studied him with quiet intensity. The bond affects you more deeply because your mind is unprepared for psychic resonance. You must learn to calm your thoughts, or the lattice may overwhelm you during moments of emotional stress. He rubbed the back of his neck. That sounds like meditation. Yes, I'm terrible at meditation. Her eyes softened with something that resembled faint amusement. Then we must find another method. A pulse of discomfort shot through Elias's head. He winced, grabbing the edge of a table for balance. The Queen's expression sharpened. The network is destabilizing faster than I feared. Is that what that pain is? He asked through clenched teeth. Yes, I feel the fractures. You feel the echo. The pressure faded slowly. Elias let out a shaky breath. How long until it gets worse? How long until it gets worse? Hours. Maybe less. He stared at her. We need to leave, don't we? We must, she answered, for both our sakes. Elias pressed a hand to his forehead. Captain Lorne isn't going to like that. She will understand necessity. Elias hesitated, then forced himself to ask the question gnawing at him. Why me? Why did the bond choose me? It did not choose, Kashara said calmly. You touched the crown while it was unstable. You stabilized it using your energy. Your mind. The lattice responded by anchoring to the nearest compatible consciousness. That was you. So it could have been anyone? Yes. Elias exhaled slowly. Lucky me. Kashara closed her eyes briefly. I know this is difficult for you, but I will do everything in my power to prevent the bond from harming you. And if it does, then I will share the burden. Her tone carried a weight that made Elias fall silent. After a moment, he nodded. Okay. Tell me what to do. For now, she said gently, rest. Your mind will need strength for what comes next. As Elias stepped toward the door, he felt another faint whisper inside his mind. Not words, but emotion, calm, reassurance, and something else, a quiet determination that belonged to a queen who refused to let her empire break. Elias turned back to look at her. Kashara lay quietly, eyes closed. But her presence was steady, strong, a force larger than anything he had ever encountered. He realized then that whatever fate tied them together, it wasn't temporary. It was only the beginning. The Helios 3 drifted silently through the void as the crew prepared for the most dangerous journey they had ever undertaken. Elias sat in the pilot's console, staring at the star-strewn darkness ahead. He could still feel the faint pulse in his mind. A whisper of the Queen's lattice, reminding him that his fate was now tied to hers. Every time it pulsed, he felt a mix of fear, responsibility, and a strange sense of urgency. He had never imagined that saving someone would put the entire galaxy on his shoulders. Captain Lorne moved past him, checking displays and giving orders to the crew. We need to plot a course that avoids Vontier's patrols, she said. This isn't just a rescue. It's a smuggling mission. Through enemy space. Elias swallowed. And if they detect us, they'll try to intercept, the captain replied without emotion. That's why we have you on this flight deck. Your skill and quick thinking may be our only chance of getting her there alive. Elias glanced at the Queen's medical chamber. Kashara lay calmly, her eyes closed, yet he could feel her presence more clearly than ever. The lattice connected to him, like an invisible tether running through his thoughts. Every time he focused, he felt flashes of her mind, visions of the Citadel, of Varai cities, and of a world that was far larger and stranger than anything humans had ever known. The ship shuddered suddenly. Alarms blared. Warning! A crew member shouted. Proximity sensors detect an unknown vessel approaching fast. Elias's pulse raced. We're not in Varai space yet. Who could be? Before he could finish, a holographic display lit up in front of him. The vessel was sleek, angular, and moving with precision. It carried the insignia of Lord Vontier. They found us, the captain said grimly. Prepare for evasive maneuvers. Shield power to maximum. Elias gripped the controls. They're fast, but Helios 3 can still outmaneuver them in the asteroid belt coming up. The Queen stirred slightly. Elias felt the pulse of her lattice intensify in his mind, a wave of urgency washing over him. Steer us toward the debris field, she whispered inside his mind. The words were not audible, but the command was unmistakable. Elias blinked. You can talk through the bond? Yes, she said softly. I can guide you, but you must act quickly. Hesitation will cost us dearly. He nodded, following the instinct as his hands moved across the controls. The ship veered sharply, engines flaring as it plunged into the asteroid field. Rocks and metal shards spun past them at deadly speeds. The Vontier ship pursued relentlessly, lasers cutting trails through the darkness. Elias could feel the Queen's fear, her anger, and her determination. He realized that despite her fragile body, her mind was sharper than anything he had ever encountered. Her presence was a map in his mind, showing him where to turn, when to accelerate, and where the narrowest gaps lay. Hard right. No. Left now. Her thoughts guided him with clarity. They weaved through the field, dodging massive asteroids. Every maneuver required precision. One wrong move could crush the ship. Elias's fingers moved in sync with Kashara's guidance, his own instincts sharpening under the pressure. Suddenly, a large chunk of metal spun toward them, and Elias instinctively reversed the thrusters. The ship groaned under the stress, sparks flying from the hull. The Vantier vessel almost struck an asteroid, giving them a small lead. The Queen's presence in his mind pulsed stronger now, as if she were thankful and alerting him to the next danger. Elias realized that he wasn't just following her instructions, he was thinking as she thought, reacting with the combined knowledge of human skill and alien intelligence. Finally, after several tense minutes, they cleared the asteroid field. The Vantier ship did not pursue further, retreating into the darkness. Elias slumped back in his seat, breathing hard. That was close, he muttered, still feeling the echo of her mind pushing gently at his thoughts. Kashara's presence softened. You performed well. That is the first test of our bond. Do not underestimate it. Nor yourself. He shook his head. I still can't believe this. I'm a human engineer. I fix machines. I don't fight alien warships. You adapt, she said simply. That is why your kind survives. You think in ways we cannot. Your imperfection is your strength. Elias paused. Imperfection? Kashara's voice was calm. We, Varai, strive for flawless calculation, precision, and control. We do not improvise. We do not bend. You bend when necessary. You find solutions where we see none. That is why the lattice anchored to you. You are human. Elias stared at the console, thinking about her words. He had always believed humans were fragile in comparison to other species. Now he understood that their fragility carried a hidden power: creativity, adaptability, and resilience. Captain Lorne interrupted his thoughts. We've got a problem. Sensors show another Varai patrol ahead, scanning the corridor to Varai Prime. They could detect us immediately. Elias felt a chill in his spine. They'll know the Queen is here. They might, the captain said. But we need to cross the patrol zone. Kashara? The Queen opened her eyes slightly. We will go through a hidden route. A secondary network of conduits rarely used for transport. It is dangerous, but safer than the main corridors. Dangerous how? Elias asked. The conduits are narrow. Only small ships usually pass through. They are monitored by automated sensors and defense systems. A mistake could trap us, or worse, collapse the corridor. Elias's palms felt clammy. Great. Narrow tunnels, automated traps, alien patrols, and I'm in the pilot's seat. Do not doubt yourself, Kashara whispered in his mind. The lattice gives you clarity if you listen carefully. He swallowed and took a deep breath. Okay, let's do it. The Helios 3 moved cautiously, gliding into the first conduit. The walls of the tunnel were rough, metallic, and dimly lit by ambient energy from the Varai infrastructure. Every second felt stretched, each decision critical. Elias could sense the Queen's presence guiding him, pointing out safer paths and alerting him to structural weaknesses. As they advanced, the automated sensors detected their signature. Small energy pulses began scanning the ship. Elias felt the Queen tense in his mind. You must react quickly. Divert power to shields, then override the signature alignment. His fingers moved rapidly. He rerouted power, adjusted the hull frequency, and watched the energy pulses pass harmlessly by. Another wave of danger came. And again, he followed her silent guidance. The bond between them felt stronger now, more confident. Elias realized that he could predict her thoughts in a way that made both of them faster and smarter than any single being could be. Hours passed like minutes. The ship moved silently, avoiding patrols and traps. The Queen remained mostly quiet, resting. But her mental presence never left him. Elias felt the weight of responsibility heavier than ever. Failure would not just cost him his life, it would threaten her empire, and countless innocent lives. Finally, the last patrol zone ended, and Varai Prime came into view. The planet was vast, with shining cities, energy streams, and structures that seemed to float in the sky. But Elias noticed something that made his stomach tighten. A section of the capital city was in chaos. Smoke rose from buildings. Energy pulses flared erratically. Kashara's voice in his mind was sharp now. Vantir's influence is growing. Parts of the city are under his control. We must reach the citadel before nightfall. The network falters each hour we delay. Elias swallowed hard. Citadel. Got it. As the ship approached the upper atmosphere, an alert sounded. Smaller patrol craft moved toward them. The captain gave orders to evade, but Elias felt the Queen's presence guiding him again. He adjusted the ship's trajectory in a series of sharp movements that no Terran training would have suggested. The small Varai craft miscalculated and missed their path entirely. The Helios 3 touched down on a hidden landing platform near the citadel. Elias felt the Queen relax in his mind, a wave of calm washing over him. He exhaled, gripping the console. We made it. Kashara's eyes opened fully, and she gave him a small nod. Yes. Thanks to you. The citadel is not lost, and the lattice remains intact. You have done more than survive. You have preserved the balance. Elias felt a strange mix of pride and disbelief. Me? I just followed your instructions. No, she replied. You acted. You adapted. You survived. That is why humans endure. For the first time, Elias understood the weight of her words. Their fates were bound. Yes, but that bond had taught him something about the strength hidden in imperfection. Humans were not fragile. They were flexible, clever, unpredictable in a way that mattered. He glanced at her resting form and whispered, I guess I'm stuck with you. Huh? Her presence in his mind was gentle. And I am bound to you. Together, we will face what comes next. Elias nodded, even though she could not see it. He felt the truth of it in his bones. The bond was not a curse, but a responsibility, one that would test every skill, every thought, and every decision he had ever made. Outside, the citadel loomed, a symbol of the Varai's power and the chaos threatening their civilization. Inside, the Queen would regain her strength, and Elias would need to prepare for the next challenge, surviving the political and psychic storms of an alien empire on the brink of civil war. For now, though, they had made it. They were alive, and the bond that had terrified him at first now carried a strange comfort. He was no longer alone in the galaxy, not with her guiding him, not with the lattice connecting them. Whatever came next, Elias knew this. Humans might be unpredictable, but unpredictability had its own kind of power, and for the first time in his life, he felt ready to use it. The citadel of Varai Prime rose before them like a living monument, massive towers spiraling toward the sky, glowing with energy streams that hummed softly in the thin air. The platform where Helios 3 had landed was secluded, hidden among the outer gardens and supply structures, but it offered little comfort. Elias could sense the tension in the Queen's presence through the lattice. Kashara had not yet recovered fully, and every step outside the ship would be dangerous. Captain Lorne turned to Elias, her expression grim. We need to move quickly. Vantir's forces may already be aware of our approach. We can't give them time to organize an ambush. Elias nodded, feeling the pulse of the Queen's mind nudging him forward. Every decision they made now would have consequences that stretched far beyond their immediate surroundings. His human instincts urged caution, but the lattice reminded him to trust her guidance. Kashara stepped lightly from the shuttle, her armored form moving gracefully despite her weakened condition. Her eyes scanned the horizon, and Elias felt the silent alert from her thoughts. He followed closely, careful to match her pace, aware that the bond between them amplified even the slightest misstep. They entered the citadel through a narrow passage known only to Kashara. Ancient walls hummed with psychic energy, and automated defenses flared to life as they passed. Elias's heart raced, but the Queen's steady presence calmed him. He realized that this was more than just following instructions. He was beginning to anticipate the flow of her mind, the rhythm of her senses. In the central chamber, the Citadel's command hub stretched before them. Screens and holographic displays mapped the entire city, showing energy surges, weak points, and patrol movements. Kashara moved to the central console, her fingers tracing patterns on the surface. The lattice pulsed, responding to her touch. Elias leaned over her shoulder, scanning the alien symbols. "What am I looking at?" She gestured to a series of nodes. "These are the control points for the Citadel's energy network. If Vontier gains access to them, he can override the psychic anchors and take control of the city's population. We must secure them before he does." He frowned. "And how do we do that?" "You and I, together," she replied simply. "I will guide you. But your human ingenuity is what makes this possible." For the next few hours, they worked in silence. Elias followed her instructions, rerouting power, disabling automated traps, and reinforcing weak points. The bond allowed him to sense her intentions before she spoke them, moving with a precision that no human or Vari alone could achieve. He realized that their combined abilities created a force far greater than either of them alone. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the Citadel. Energy spikes erupted on the displays. Vontier's forces had discovered their presence and were attempting to override the nodes remotely. Elias felt the Queen tense in his mind. "They are close," she warned. "Prepare to defend the main hub." He took a deep breath. "We'll do it." The first wave of Vantier's enforcers arrived, sleek armored soldiers and drones equipped with energy weapons. Elias and Kashara moved to intercept. He handled the control systems, activating defense turrets and redirecting power, while the Queen used her psychic influence to disrupt the enemy's coordination. The bond amplified every reaction, making their teamwork instinctive. Despite the chaos, Elias could not help but notice the Queen's calm determination. Every movement, every decision, was precise. Even weakened, she was a force to be reckoned with. He realized that her strength was not just in her powers but in her mind, the clarity of thought, the focus, the unwavering sense of purpose. The battle intensified. Drones fired beams of energy, but the Citadel's defenses intercepted most attacks. Soldiers tried to breach the central hub, but Kashara's psychic waves threw them off balance, giving Elias the chance to manipulate the control systems, trapping them in containment fields. At one point, a drone managed to slip past the defenses, targeting the console where Kashara worked. Elias reacted instantly, pushing her aside and redirecting the energy surge to destroy the drone before it could strike. He felt the pulse of the lattice spike as she stabilized her own presence. "You saved me," she said quietly, her voice calm but tinged with acknowledgement. "Not just me," he replied. "We're in this together." She gave a faint nod. "Indeed. And together, we are stronger than he anticipated." Vantier appeared at the edge of the main chamber, a tall figure in dark armor, his presence radiating authority and malice. Through the bond, Elias felt the surge of the Queen's emotions: anger, caution, determination. Vantier's own psychic power was formidable, but the bond gave Elias insight into Kashara's strategy. Elias whispered, more to himself than anyone else, "This is it." The final confrontation began. Vantier attempted to sever the lattice between Elias and the Queen, using a powerful psychic pulse. Elias felt the pressure immediately, a force that threatened to crush his thoughts, distort his perceptions, and shatter his focus. But the Queen's guidance came as a steady stream, a calm anchor that allowed him to resist. "Redirect the flow," Kashara commanded silently. "Channel the energy through the Citadel nodes." Elias acted, rerouting power and stabilizing the psychic wave. Vantier's attack struck the network, but instead of collapsing the bond, it strengthened the connection between them. Elias felt a surge of clarity, understanding Kashara's intentions as if they were his own. Together, they turned Vantier's attack against him, sending a focused feedback pulse that disrupted his control over the Citadel's systems. The enemy faltered, and Vantier's soldiers were thrown into disarray. Elias guided the defensive systems to contain them, while Kashara projected waves of psychic influence, neutralizing their coordination. Vantier himself attempted to retreat, but the lattice connection allowed Elias and Kashara to anticipate his moves. They blocked his escape, forcing him to confront the Queen directly. "You cannot stop me," Vantier hissed, his eyes glowing with psychic intensity. "We do not intend to stop you," Kashera replied. "We intend to protect our people, and that cannot be undone." Elias felt the surge of power in her mind. And he added his own human intuition to the fight. He found gaps in Vontier's approach, weaknesses in his movements that no Varai would have noticed. With a precise combination of psychic redirection and tactical maneuvering, they overpowered him. Vontier fell to the ground, defeated but alive. Kashera stepped forward, her presence commanding and unwavering. "Your rebellion ends here," she said. "You will not harm my people again." The remaining forces surrendered, overwhelmed by the coordinated defense of the citadel. Elias let out a deep breath, feeling the tension in the lattice slowly ease. The bond pulsed gently, a steady rhythm that reassured him that both he and the queen had survived the ordeal. Kashara looked at him, her eyes reflecting both gratitude and respect. "You have proven yourself beyond what I anticipated. Your humanity, your adaptability, your courage, all of it has preserved my empire." Elias felt a strange warmth at her words. "I didn't think humans could do much out here. But I guess we surprise even ourselves sometimes." She smiled faintly. "Indeed. And you have reminded me that perfection is not always the greatest strength. Sometimes, unpredictability, resilience, and courage are what matter most." Captain Lorne entered the chamber, her expression a mixture of relief and admiration. "The citadel is secure. The nodes are stable, and the rebels are contained. You did it, Elias. You saved the Queen, and possibly the entire Varai Empire." Elias shook his head, still processing the events. "I didn't do it alone. She guided me every step of the way." Kashera placed a hand briefly on his shoulder. "And you made the guidance effective. That is why we succeeded. The bond is a partnership, not a tool. We are now connected in ways neither of us fully understood before. And together, we are stronger. We are stronger." For the first time since he had rescued her in the debris field, Elias felt a sense of calm. The bond that had terrified him now carried reassurance and purpose. He realized that what had begun as a random accident, a simple act of saving a life, had grown into something far greater. The Queen turned toward the control panels, her energy stabilizing further. "There is still much to rebuild. The network is fragile, and the city must recover from the disruptions." Elias nodded, understanding that their work was not over. "Then let's get to it. We've got an empire to save." She allowed a small smile. "Indeed. And now, I know that humanity has a place in our universe not as mere observers, but as allies. You have proven that our species can work together, and that is a lesson I will not forget." Elias felt the bond pulse, one final time that night, a steady, reassuring rhythm that promised they would face future challenges together. Whatever trials awaited, he was no longer just a human engineer, lost in the vastness of space. He was part of something larger, tied to a civilization that was far stronger, wiser, and more complex than he had ever imagined. As they stood together in the citadel's central chamber, Elias glanced at Kashara. "So, what now?" "Now," she replied, "we rebuild, we secure the empire, and we prepare for the future. And you, Elias Ward, will remain a part of it. Our fates are intertwined, not by chance, but by necessity." Elias nodded, a sense of pride and determination filling him. "Then let's make sure that future is one worth living for both our people." Outside, the city lights glimmered, restored for the moment, and the citadel hummed with life once more. Within the quiet bond that connected them, Elias realized the truth. Humanity had its place in the stars, not because they were perfect, but because they had the courage, creativity, and resilience to rise when it mattered most. And for the first time, he understood what it truly meant to be indispensable. The galaxy was wide, the challenges many, but together, human and Varai were ready. The bond that had terrified him at first had become a symbol of hope, proof that even the most improbable alliances could change the fate of entire civilizations. Elias smiled faintly. They had survived the storm, and now, the real journey began.